Welcome back, guys, to another video. And as you know, yesterday was a special day. The Asus ROG Ally was finally announced, revealed, and pricing, release date, all that good stuff was announced. And I want to talk to you about it, give you my first thoughts and impressions, because we did the live stream. If you weren't there on the live stream, I apologize, but a lot of stuff was revealed, and we're starting to see a lot of benchmarks for actual games come out on this thing. And I'm going to be doing a lot of videos on the Asus ROG Ally going forward from today, multiple tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the Asus ROG Ally till June when it comes out. So let's get into it without further ado. I'm Blazed OK. If you love everything tech, gaming, handheld gaming, all that good stuff, then please drop a like under the video, hit the subscribe, click the bell icon, because like I said, we're going to be obsessing about the Asus ROG Ally going forward, and I can't wait to talk about it more with you and get your opinions in the comments. Now, videos going forward, they're going to be more of an informative discussion type format. We're going to be looking at articles, we're going to be looking at videos, we're going to be looking at, you know, store pages, reviews, benchmarks, all that good stuff from an outside perspective. And then when I get my hands on that bad boy, we're going to be doing a lot more than that. So stay tuned, please subscribe, and let's get into it. I'm Blazed OK. Well, before we get into it, please check out the link down below in the video description and top comment of this video for my favorite Steam Deck accessories. Now, this list is going to be very relevant to a lot of you guys that are interested in the ROG Ally, because a lot of these accessories will work perfectly with your ROG Ally, including the docks. There's a lot of great accessories here. Don't obviously buy a Steam Deck case for your ROG Ally, but there's a lot of stuff like chargers, wireless keyboards, AR glasses, screen, you know, docks, obviously, micro SD cards, SSDs, portable wireless keyboards and mice, micro SD cards, just about portable monitors for your Steam Deck and ROG Ally. A lot of this stuff's relevant, so go check the link out down below in the video description and top comment of this video. Bookmark it, save it, share with friends. It's great for gift ideas. I'm always adding stuff, so keep checking on it on a regular basis. So anyways, yes, the ROG Ally was announced. Was announced yesterday. Sorry, almost dropped the microphone. Was announced yesterday, and we got to see a lot of important things. Now, the first part of the keynote was actually pretty damn interesting. It was a little bit long-winded at the end because they brought in a bunch of people from AMD, Microsoft, and who else? Oh yeah, Asus, to talk about the ROG Ally, and it was really interesting. We learned a lot. We learned a lot why they wanted to go with Windows instead of Linux, and their whole shtick for that was because they wanted people to play their games that they'd already owned on different stores, like the Epic Games Store, Rockstar Games, Steam, EA Play, and all that sort of stuff. But obviously, it was all good news, and as far as the specs and the performance is concerned, I'm pretty impressed. Now, they started off talking about like the performance jump from, you know, from the early 1990s all the way till now. The fact that we could play a lot of the top tier brand new releases at 60 FPS on gaming handhelds now, and what it means. There was a lot of stuff to like in this review, but it wasn't all good news. Now, what I noticed, funnily enough, as soon as that presentation went live, we started getting bombarded with like hands-on unboxing and review videos from a lot of different creators, myself not included. Asus, what's going on? We cover handheld gaming PCs on this channel, all right? 35,000 subscribers, Asus. Come on, Asus. I've been singing your praises ever since I got the Asus G14. Why was I not included? But either way, I'm not salty. I am salty, kind of salty a little bit. But yeah, we got a lot of reviews, and I just want to warn people a little bit when you're watching these reviews, because it's easy to get swept away in the hype, in the excitement for this thing. Oh, it's up to 2 times faster than the Steam Deck, when it's not really. It's easy to get swept away. I just want to warn you, because a lot of these reviewers that have their hands on them already got them for review, got them for free essentially, and got asked to do a video on them. And obviously, if you were a YouTuber, you'll know if you get something for free, you tend to lean towards being a little bit more positive than you would with it had you spent your own money on it. All right, so before you make any rash decisions, before you go and buy 10 of them, one for every member of your family, wait till we get some hands-on reviews from people that have actually spent their money on them, okay? Because obviously, like I says, they tend not to talk about the negatives, the glaring negatives, of which there happens to be one in particular that I'm really worried about and I want to talk about. in a separate video. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the event? Let me know in the comments down below. We've got a lot of benchmarks. ETA Prime, one of my favorite handheld gaming PC reviewers, retro emulation device reviewers, ETA Prime, did a great video talking about all the benchmarks, and I was really impressed. We were seeing averages of 90 to 100 FPS on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which, as you know, is a demanding game, as well as over 100 FPS in Forza. We're looking at potentially playing 120 FPS in a lot of these top newish games, which is impressive. I thought we'd maybe at least hit 60, but with the right settings, with the resolution cranked down just a little bit to like 800p, 720p, with FSR turned on, you could hit 120 FPS in a lot of these games. And we're starting to see the emulation performance. This thing's going to be able to play Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 and Nintendo Switch games with ease. It's got some of the best emulation performance I've ever seen on any kind of handheld. So from that perspective, it's really good. But there are a lot of flaws with this thing. Now, I'm going to briefly touch on some of the flaws that I noticed and I'd heard across the whole community. One of which being the face buttons apparently get stuck a lot. Now, that is a massive glaring flaw. Now, Linus Tech Tips said he experienced this on his production unit when he got his production sample back in the day, well, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, and he mentioned it to them, and he says, "Oh, it'll be fixed by the time gamers get their hands on it." Apparently, it's not. Apparently, this issue with the face buttons still persists to this day, and that's concerning, because if you know anything about me, if you've been watching my videos, I actually got a Steam Deck and I had issues with the B button getting stuck all the time, the one that's curved on the side of the Steam Deck, and that is one of the most infuriating issues that you could really have with the Asus ROG, with any console, because if you're playing games fast-paced, intense games where you're jumping on platforms, like literally instant reactions are essential for playing the game, you're going to be finding yourself having multiple stuck buttons half the time, and a lot of the reviewers that had their hands on this thing said it happened at least 12 times in the one session that they had to play this thing, and that is really concerning. Now, like I said, Asus did say they caught it during production and they fixed it. They've made the face buttons a little bit larger to make sure that they won't get stuck on the shell, but according to what some of the people that have got their hands on this thing say, it's still an issue, and that is a massive deal breaker. It's meant to be a gaming console. You can't be having issues with the button sticking. You just can't. That's a big deal, and that means, if you do have that issue, I don't know what to tell you. It means you might have to send it in for repair. So no matter where your Ally is headed, it's just not good. Now, some of the other issues, obviously, the glossy buttons. I've went over and over glossy buttons. I'm not a fan of the glossy buttons on the face. I'm not a fan of the D-pad shape. I'm not a fan of the glossy plastic they used on the D-pad. The shoulder buttons and the triggers are apparently, they're some of the best triggers out there in terms of feel, but I'm not a fan of the glossy plastic they chose to use on it. They did add a little texture on it, so that's okay. As for the software, I love what they did with the software. There's apparently a lot of bugs with the software right now that's kind of hindering it, especially having to wait a second for the little quick access panel, the command center to pop up, things being a little bit laggy and crashing out when you're trying to change the TDP, from performance to turbo, etc., silent mode. There's a lot of bugs for them to fix, and obviously I have complete faith that Asus is going to fix them before release, or at least not long after release. Now, one outlet in particular, The Verge, gave the Ally a scathing review a little bit. They said, "Stop pretending Windows is the answer. A big step for all Windows handhelds, but is Windows the way forward at all?" Now, their criticism is that Windows is going to hamper the Steam Deck. Hamper the ROG Ally, because obviously it's not touch-based, and it's not really touch-friendly. It's not a great touch interface. You're gonna have to deal with a lot of Windows issues, like having to touch buttons, glitches that we typically see on gaming PCs, whereas the Steam Deck is a very console feeling, you know, experience. You know, it's an operating system designed to be run on a handheld game console with all the optimizations that come with that. Whereas this, it's just running straight Windows with a little overlay application, you know, that they're using Command Center for you to find and play your games and launch your games. And obviously, along, you know, with that comes a lot of bugs. There's a lot of things that Asus are not going to be able to do or not have control over. If there's any Windows issues, they're not going to have control over, because obviously it's two different companies working on two different forms of software and a piece of hardware that isn't made by Microsoft. There's a lot of repercussions that come with running Windows, you know, on a gaming PC handheld. A lot of quirks that are obviously are going to be difficult to iron out, whereas, you know, Valve has full control over their software. Now, that seems to be one of the Verge's biggest pain points, is the fact that it runs Windows, obviously. Now, it's not all bad. They did say the handheld's significantly beefier without being thicker or anywhere near as expensive as the Windows competition. I wish my Steam Deck would run anywhere near as quiet, and I wish it had the Ally's variable refresh rate screen to make my games look smooth. Seriously, it's so smooth for a computer this small, and I'm not talking about games that run in 120 Hz. In my tests, the magic of variable refresh rate, VRR, and low frame compensation works right down to 30 FPS. So if you're going to be playing games at 30 FPS or the low end of the frame rate spectrum, you're going to be having a smooth experience. But this is some of their issues. Battery life. Apparently battery life is atrocious. Now, it has the same battery as the Steam Deck, but based on tests and battery life tests using similar content at the same screen brightnesses, including Linus Tech Tips who tested it, the battery life is going to be lower in the same situation as the Steam Deck, using the same TDP, same screen brightness. It's just going to be lower, and I put that down to the fact that SteamOS is optimized for the Steam Deck. The hardware, it's optimized, or always optimizing it, whereas Asus are kind of taking a back seat in terms of software, because obviously it's Windows running on this thing, and Windows was not designed to run on a handheld gaming console and conserve battery, right? Whether that changes, we did talk about Microsoft working on their own little handheld UI, which is kind of cool. Can't wait for that. But right now, battery life is an issue. We're obviously seeing glitches being an issue with the software. That's something they could change over time, though. I wouldn't be too concerned about that. And obviously, how the Windows operating system, supposedly a plus, hamstrings the handheld experience. Now, The Verge is one of the outlets that did mention the face buttons getting stuck. That's under their list of bad stuff, right? Face buttons can currently get stuck, and we'll see what they say about that in a second. One thing I wanted to note is the fact that you can actually crank the TDP down to 7 watts. 7 watts, which is insane. We thought it was going to be between like 9 and 35 or 9 and 30, but it turns out it can go as low as 7 and up to as high as 35 watts. And I think it can even go maybe a little bit higher when you've got the 65 watt power delivery charger plugged into it, which is insane. Here's some of the benchmarks that you could see that this thing can get. And like I said, we're pushing upwards of like 70, 80, and in some titles 120 Hz with the right settings, FSR turned on obviously as well. It looks pretty nice. But there is definitely some issues, guys. Now, this is the battery life you're going to be looking at. Now, when you're playing games like Control, you're going to be getting like 1.5 hours if you're lucky, and that's at the full 20. Well, that's at 24 to 26 watts. If you try and crank that up to 30 watts, you'll be lucky if you get an hour. Elden Ring, less than an hour. 46.5 watts in test area, and that's with turbo mode and connected to the AC, right? Redfall, we're seeing Netflix. They're saying you're going to be able to get about up to 8 hours watching Netflix. That's where that 8-hour time frame came from. Everyone was getting excited in the pre-stream, like, oh my god, they're leaking. Some of the stores have leaked the battery life. They're saying it's going to be up to 8 hours gameplay. Turns out that's if you're watching Netflix, and even then, The Verge says here you're only going to get 3.5 hours if you're lucky on Chrome. Maybe on Microsoft Edge it might be different, I'm not sure. But yeah, the battery life isn't going to be fantastic. The Steam Deck's battery life is definitely going to be a lot better. Linus Tech Tips also pointed out the fact that the Steam Deck actually still beats the ROG Ally at lower TDPs. So if you're trying to run games at 10 watts, on the ROG Ally and you play a game at 10 watts on the Steam Deck is going to get better performance at 10 watts, which is insane. So obviously the ROG Ally is going to destroy the Steam Deck at higher wattages, but when you start to try and conserve battery life and try and crack down the TDP, the power, you're going to get less performance than the Steam Deck, and that's something that a lot of people are not talking about, and I just thought I'd mention that to you. Now, one thing that I was really excited about, and that I'm still excited about with the ROG Ally, is obviously the fact that it's got power delivery, fast charging. 65 watt charger comes with it. It's going to charge it pretty damn fast. Now, one issue I've had with my Steam Deck is that I'll be playing a game with not the official charger, but with like a power delivery charging brick from Anker that can supply 65 watts. And then I've got a nice USB-C cable, very high-end, expensive one. And it still drains when I'm playing games. I was playing Resident Evil 2 the other day. I was playing Red Dead Redemption a couple of weeks ago, playing Warzone on Windows on the Steam Deck. And every single time, the battery would continue to drain pretty fast whilst connected to the AC, which is horrible. Now, I've still got some tests to do as to whether that's a recurring thing, whether it's just an issue with my unit, but it seems like when I use the official charger, it doesn't tend to do that as much. It does manage to play a game and then, you know, obviously fill up at the same time. So our ROG Ally, that's going to be a big improvement for that. It's faster to charge. The Verge writer is saying he got 50% in 40 minutes. 50% charge in 40 minutes whilst he was continuing to play it. And it takes about 30 minutes if you leave it alone. You can fill the system all the way up to 97 or 98% with a bundle charger, even if you're playing games in turbo mode, though it might take a couple of hours to do so. But the main thing is that it's charging and it's not discharging when you're playing games, which is a massive game changer. So you can play this thing for literally hours and hours and hours and hours, potentially endlessly if you want, whilst playing games, whilst hooked up to the charger, and I think that's a big win for the ROG Ally. Now, I really liked what they had to say about some of the hardware features, right? So it's obviously got easy to reach shoulder buttons with a decent click. That's good. Not too tall analog sticks. Apparently the analog sticks are really nice and premium feeling in this. Now, I've heard a few people say they would be fooled for thinking they were Hall sensor sticks, but they're not, believe it or not. So they're still susceptible to joystick drift and all that stuff, but apparently they're really good. So an Xbox One style concave D-pad that's easy to rock and roll. Now the D-pad, I'm not a fan of that Xbox One style. Perhaps they went with that because they're in a partnership with Microsoft. I think that's became clear. Microsoft were at the announcement in the post-show discussion, so I think Microsoft are sending them a couple of checks, and I think that's why they wanted to appease Microsoft with that D-pad design. An honest-to-goodness fingerprint sensor, that's kind of cool. Genuine biometrics, being able to just slap your finger on that power button and log into Windows, that's a necessity for Windows, I would say. Custom fan curves, so you can control the noise and heat levels. Obviously, Asus's command center, ROG command center thing, that's something I use on my laptop. It's very versatile, a lot of control for customizing the performance. Built-in switching, task manager, screenshot, video recording shortcuts. That's something that I was really impressed with in the preview, is the fact that you can record gameplay. Now, I've went on a big long rant about the external graphics situation they've got for this thing. Now, the ROG Ally could have truly been great. It could have USB-C 4. It could have supported your own graphics amplifier. And what a graphics amplifier is basically a box that you could, with a power supply in it, with a USB-C out on the back of it, that you could literally slap a full-size graphics card into. That you could upgrade down the line. You could use it with other USB-C Thunderbolt devices in the future if you want. But Asus decided to go down the route of a proprietary system with their XG graphics system, which is basically a proprietary mobile graphics, external graphics package here that only works with certain Asus products. You can't upgrade it. You can't use it with other devices down the line that have USB-C. It's a $2,000 proprietary thing. And it's more efficient, and there's more PCIe express lanes assigned to it than USB-C 4. But I just wish they'd allowed us to obviously have that option of USB-C 4. And I wish they'd give us more USB-C ports, honestly. One on the bottom, one on the top, two on the top, who knows. That's one of my complaints. I also love their game software that scans all the games and all your different libraries and allows you to basically just jump into your game regardless of what library it's using. That's pretty cool. One thing that I thought was a little bit weird as well during the presentation is that they're comparing this thing to home consoles. Now, they're saying your latest home consoles like the PS5 and Xbox Series X have about 10 teraflops of graphics performance, whereas the ROG Ally with the Z1 Extreme has up to 8.6 teraflops. That's a little bit disingenuous. The Steam Deck uses 1.6 teraflops. The Nintendo Switch uses just about 0.4 teraflops. The ROG Ally supposedly has up to 8.6 teraflops performance. I just don't think that's true, because if it was true, we'd be playing games at 4K 60 on the ROG Ally, which we know for a fact isn't the case, right? Another thing that I really liked was this little AC adapter HDMI out dock thing that they have. Now, this is sold separately, which kind of sucks, but basically it's just a power brick that you plug into the wall. It has a USB-C port on it. It's got HDMI out on it, I believe. It might have a normal USB port on it as well, I'm not sure, but the main thing is that you can literally plug this thing in to your TV from the power brick that's plugged into the outlet, which is pretty damn nifty. And nice, slightly different take on obviously the Switch's dock, but you could potentially plug this into the power adapter at the back of your TV, plug it up with HDMI to your TV, and then just have a USB-C cable just hanging over your entertainment center that you could just plug the ROG Ally into whenever you want to play it on TV, which is pretty nifty. Now, another thing which I thought was really cool that I wish the Steam Deck had was the ability to record gameplay from within the device without having to download any third-party plugins. They're going to be letting you like quickly record gameplay, trim it down, and then share it to YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. I just love that. I really love that. That's good move on Asus's part. But yeah, guys, I've probably ranted on too long in this video as it is. It's looking like this video is already up to 21 minutes. I'm sorry. There's more I could say, and there's a lot more I've got to say about the ROG Ally. Sorry for the long video. I started off a little bit slow, ranting about, you know, not just going off on a tangent, but basically, I'm pretty impressed with it. It's obviously on sale right now on Best Buy for pre-order, $699.99 for the Z1 Extreme. This is the one I would go for, guys. I mean, if you look at the performance between the base Z1 and the Z1 Extreme, for an extra $100, and for an extra $100, that's a pretty good deal. So it's still available to pre-order. What that means in terms of how much it's sold so far, we can only speculate, but I am going to be obviously talking about the fact that it's still available for pre-order in my next video, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, guys, if you love the ROG Ally, please like this video, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified, and obviously check our list of favorite Steam Deck accessories. A lot of these will also apply to the ROG Ally. We should be able to fit in a lot of these docks, hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, let me know what you think, more importantly, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. I'm excited to get my hands on this thing. I wish I was a big enough YouTuber for me to get my hands on it before now and talk about it, but I'm really excited, and I want to know what your thoughts are. I'm still gonna love my Steam Deck. There's still a lot to love about the Steam Deck, so I don't think you should throw the Steam Deck under the bus, even though we joked about it on the stream when we were watching the event. But no, I love the Steam Deck. It's gonna be a long time before I get rid of it, and I'd love to know what you think. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm Blaze2K. Take care, enjoy your weekend, because it is Friday, and I'll try and make shorter videos next time. Okay. All right, guys, take care. Bye.